Hey everybody, it's Strong Sweet Caroline. Welcome back. And today I'm talking about macro food timing to figure out what's going to work best for you. And before we get started, the first thing that you really need to think about is number one, what is your goal? And number two, what is your lifestyle? And I know right now we're all going crazy, cooped up in our houses, like literally going crazy. Notice I did my makeup a little bit differently than I normally do. I tried out, I guess it's called the Foxy Eye look. I don't know. I'm kind of digging it though. Besides my paleness, I need a new foundation. But either way, our lifestyles right now are a little bit different than they normally are. And so you have to take that into account, but you also need to think about your goal. So if you're somebody who is either trying to put on muscle or grow, then your food timing and your nutrients, your macronutrients might be different than somebody who is trying to improve their insulin sensitivity, lose a lot of body fat, or improve hormone balance. So that's something that you really, really need to consider. So after you figure those out, that's when you can really start to analyze and work with a coach to say, okay, I know that I'm going to be eating from a certain time of day to a certain time of day. And I need to figure out what foods I want to put in there, what I'm going to break down into those meals. So I did a little bit more research than I normally do because there's been some conflicting studies out there thinking that nutrient timing doesn't matter. Is it dead? Does it even matter when we eat or how we eat? So the first thing you need to figure out is, okay, am I going to be eating normal 3 meals a day if that's the lifestyle that you live and your family lives? If it is, awesome. One thing that you'll want to think about is, okay, am I eating a big breakfast? Am I going to eat a bigger dinner? And some of the studies, depending on your goal, we're talking about some of the effects that you can have depending on when you're wanting to eat this larger meal and what's more calorically dense. So a lot of people have heard terms like intermittent fasting, skipping breakfast. Now there's pros and cons to that. I've done intermittent fasting myself. People who are intermittent fasting, the biggest value that you get from it is it gives you a shorter eating window. So if you're somebody who's really trying to lose some weight and cut cravings, it sucks in the beginning, but once you start doing it more, you're going to notice you don't get hungry for a longer period of time. So in turn, you're not going to eat as many calories as long as you're still in that caloric deficit and you're limiting that window. There's another benefit too to intermittent fasting is it actually helps your cell regenerate a lot faster. And you think about the gut microbiome, it's made up of all the different gut microbacteria, flora. You have the stomach acid, and it's a very high pH. When you continue to eat and eat and eat, your stomach never gets to rest and recover. And if you're eating something that is having a negative effect on your system, creating some type of issue, whether it's something like food sensitivity, irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, SIBO, you won't be able to fix it if you continue to do that cycle over and over again. So that's one benefit of intermittent fasting. Now, for opposite end, if you wanted to eat a bigger breakfast and eat that larger meal in the day, one of the studies is saying that you would actually be able to help with speeding up your metabolism as long as you are not continuing to eat later in the day so that your last meal of the day is earlier in the evening. So similar to what we're saying is that you can either eat a bigger meal in the day from eating regular breakfast, or actually there's more benefit from eating a larger lunch and focusing on that as your main caloric intake versus the breakfast. Or on the flip side, you do an intermittent fast or you eat a very light breakfast and then eat more calorie dense towards the later half of your day can help improve your nutrient intake. But more importantly, we're looking at our metabolism and overall fat loss. Now, the biggest component you want to be careful of if you're eating a large meal at the end of the day is you want to give your body at least 2 hours, sometimes 2.5, 3 hours before bed that you're going to eat that meal. Reason being is your melatonin and your natural circadian rhythm can be affected if you're eating later in the evening, because it will increase your body temperature. If you guys have problems sleeping, one of the main things that you can do is you can lower the temperature in your house. It will help you sleep. If our bodies are feeling like a furnace and you lay down in bed, you're not going to be able to fall asleep. So if you're eating a really calorie-dense meal right before bed, I hate to say it, you're probably going to suffer from sleep that way. So take that into consideration as well. Now, this was just the example of overall food. Now we want to think about what in those individual meals are we going to eat. And maybe you aren't going to do 3 meals a day. Maybe you're going to split it up more and you're going to do 4 meals, doing 1 snack. Or you're going to do like 5 or 6 meals, which are almost like mini meals is what I call them, because they're usually between 250 to 400, 450 calories, depending on the person. And so if you're going to have larger meals, depending on what your total caloric intake is, maybe you can do it in 3 to 4 meals in a day. But if you are someone who's trying to put on muscle mass and you have to increase your food intake, it's going to benefit your body to space out your meals accordingly. I always recommend and go by rule of thumb to have at least 2 to 3 hours in between each meal. That way your body's going to digest and you're going to absorb those nutrients. It's proven that as specifically a certain human, you can't intake and absorb all the food that you're ingesting if you have any type of digestive stressor, and also if you're increasing the intake of a certain macronutrient that can cause a slower digestion and absorption rate as well. One of the biggest ones is protein. Everybody in the fitness industry talks about eating more protein in your diet, which is great. Most Americans in general are under eating protein, and that's just a common fact. But when you start evaluating how much protein you actually need to eat in order to either maintain a lean, toned physique or to put on more muscle mass, it's going to be on average about 1 to 1.2 pounds per lean body mass. Now, that's not per body weight. I used to make this mistake. I've seen so many coaches say per your body weight, or they'll put an example and it's your body weight. I will tell you that 90% of people should not be eating that much protein because it's not their lean body mass. And I've gone from different coaches to learn that you need to adjust that to improve your digestion and absorption rate as well, so that you're actually going to be able to utilize the food that you're taking in. Either way, when you're putting together these meals, it's very good to have a balanced meal with your proteins, your carbs, and your fats, the 3 main macronutrients. These can be in the forms of either simple carbs or complex carbs. Your protein could be a shake, it can be a lean white meat, it can be a red meat, it can be fish, it could be a vegan or vegetarian based, you name it. And then you've got the fats, which can vary as well. But you want to try and keep it as consistent as possible so that when you're eating the meal, your body is going to start to learn your foods. And that's why it's actually really good to have a meal plan, but it's even better to have more of food categories to eat so that you aren't eating the exact same foods every day and you're continuing to increase the microbiome diversity that improves our overall gut health, digestion, hormone balance, nutrient intake, our vitamins, etc. So for one example, I've got a client right now that she actually has a hard time getting all of her meals in the day. And she actually didn't eat her first meal until about 10 a.m. I'm like, if we're trying to increase your food, we might want to push your first meal up a little bit early in the day, and your last meal can be a little bit earlier too. But we just need to make sure that you're eating the foods that we need you to eat so you can put on some muscle, because that's her goal. And so I've got her eating 5 meals a day, and she's eating them every 2 to 3 hours, as long as, she might not feel hungry all the time, and that's okay. Sometimes we will feel hungry, sometimes we won't. That's just a sign of either our leptin or ghrelin might be off, but you might be normal too. Stress and cortisol can play a big part in our hunger as well, and some of those cues that we feel, water retention. So there's a lot of factors. Now, when it comes to working out, I really recommend somebody eating a pre-workout meal at least 30 minutes, if not an hour to an hour and a half before going to work out. There are some other different studies on nutrient timing before and after a workout and what you actually need. I, from my understanding and my experiences, know that you want to have a protein before the gym. You can have some carbs in there as well, and I recommend also a fat source so that your blood sugar is not going to spike when you're working out. That way you're going to stay stable the whole time, you're not going to get hungry, and you're going to have some type of protein source that will help prevent a lot of that protein breakdown from the muscle synthesis that's happening during that workout. After the workout is a little bit of a different story, and you're going to hear people saying you need to eat within 30 minutes, you need to eat within an hour. You can eat within 3 hours. It really depends on the person. It depends on how your body metabolizes food. If you're a hard gainer, if you're a quick gainer, there's a lot of variables in it. But most importantly, looking at that anabolic window it's bigger than what a lot of people have initially thought, because of what your total caloric intake is in a day. And if you've had carbs earlier in the day, odds are you aren't going to lose any muscle gains that you've had in the gym if you don't eat immediately after the gym. So I always recommend try and eat within an hour from your workout. Odds are if you're drinking some type of intra-workout like BCAAs or EAAs, that's also amino acids. So you aren't gonna die if you don't eat right after the gym. But if you're in a caloric deficit, you might feel like you're dying. So there's that. But either way, just start thinking about certain meals that work for you, and know that we're all bioindividual. Know that every single time that you're eating a certain meal, and if it's a balanced, wholesome, nutritious meal, those calories are gonna go for good and helping your body and nourishing your body and strengthening you. Not that the processed foods won't, but it'll just be in a different way, and that's where life balance comes in. So you can eat something processed once a day, once or twice a week, and you'll still be able to keep going towards your goals. So you just need to be mindful in figuring out what's gonna work for you, your body, and that's where having a coach to hold you accountable, to know some of these different tips and tricks to make sure you're going in the direction of your goal can really, really benefit. So I hope this helps some of you guys out there. Do know there's a lot of resources on the internet and to do your own research as well, but if you need resources, obviously I'm free, I'm available, and I'm helping clients every day with this type of stuff. And I'm always trying to improve myself and better myself. So if you guys have questions or you want me to do some videos on other topics, please reach out. Be glad to. And hope you guys enjoy this continued social distancing. Yay. But eat healthy, eat well, and when you guys can train and train hard, you're going to see your progress. But don't forget to relax too. Life balance. See y'all soon.